Shalom, everybody. This is Brian Newman on Let's Talk Shalom here at 6:30 on Fridays, the beginning of this Shabbat, and 2:30 on Sunday is right when you guys get out of church, and to Applebee's. So if you want to check us out, and letstalkshalom.com is the TV show website. I have some links. I'll have guest information, like if you guys want to contact Michelle here or any other guests we have, and we'll have some videos, some old shows up soon, and my podcast is on there, and a link to some life coaching and books and all kinds of things are on there. And I'm here with Michelle Reimer again from Fairhaven
Training and Retreat Center.
Awesome. So I let the guests explain it because I always butcher it. And Michelle does a lot of prophetic counseling, intercession, deliverance, the spirit-filled side of things. She trains people in that. And one of the things that has come up recently in the past few years is dream interpretation, which is Michelle actually knows a lot about, and a lot of people she works with. But a lot of people might have a prophetic gifting, but they don't know, so they see things, they experience things spiritually at night or in the day, they smell it, they see it, they might feel it, you might call it a dream or a vision, but they don't know what to do with it. So they can receive this information like an antenna or a radio, but they don't know how to translate it. It's like if you had a radio in your head that picked up a station in Russian, you're hearing the sound, you're hearing what's coming through, but you don't know how to interpret it. So dreams can kind of be like that. You're watching a TV show that's in a foreign language. Mm-hmm. So the prophetic people get the signal, but there's different kinds of people that interpret the signal. And that's kind of how dreams are. So Michelle's, we're going to talk about dreams, and she's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to ask her some questions because we both kind of do the dream interpretation thing.
You are farther along than I am, so he has taught me so much. I really appreciate it. And he's done several workshops for us. And I told him earlier in an earlier episode that it's just amazing how I've seen people bring their dreams to Brian, and they've carried these dreams for 10, 15, 20 years. And he's been able to biblically interpret those dreams, and it's just unlocked people's destinies, their understanding. So it's a powerful tool. So I know some, but I'm learning more about it. So I'm glad to have you talk about it on your show.
Thank you. And it's been a wild ride with that. And it's not something I ever pictured doing. I didn't grow up in a Pentecostal, Assemblies of God, charismatic, spirit-filled kind of church environment. I didn't go to church for about 10 years. And then I've never studied it as a child. This wasn't anything I ever pictured, envisioned having anything at all to do with. So it's kind of a testimony that you don't have to be born good at something to develop it later in life. I think Harrison Ford was 40-something years old. He worked as a carpenter in Hollywood, as a carpenter designing sets. And they asked him to fill in one day, and he ended up being in Star Wars. But, he's 40 years old, has never had an paid acting job in his life. And there's so many people that 40s, 50s, even 60s, that one day God just zaps them with something, and they can do it. Like in the book of Exodus, they had to build a tabernacle. But they've been slaves in Egypt for 400 years. Everybody made bricks for a living. They weren't goldsmiths, silversmiths, embroiderers. They weren't any of that. And God chose a Levite and a Danite, and he gave them supernatural knowledge of how to build the tabernacle and how to teach others how to do it. So I think there's a lot of giftings like that. They're activated now or coming about now because the world needs it. I have a friend up in Johnson City who suddenly one day could just start playing keyboard and sing. She's like 39, but it's like all of a sudden, boom, you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't there before. It just happened. So it's a good example of all the things that are going on in people's lives, different giftings. So if you're feeling a nudge to explore something, I say go for it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, did you always interpret, or was you always a dreamer, or did this happen to you later in life when you started prophetic stuff?
Yeah, and that's part of my testimony that I really am grateful for, because I believe there's a whole group of people out there that just don't come from fifth generation ministers or pastors, and you didn't always hear God, and you didn't always dream dreams as a child, and it just kind of came to you later in life. Or maybe you got saved at a later age, or maybe you got saved young, but you just really didn't grow as a Christian until you were older. And so I just want to give people hope that it's never too late, whether it's hearing God, having dreams and understanding what they mean, or seeing visions, just whatever. It's never too late. There's always hope.
Because I always thought, like, you're born Samuel or you're not. You're talking to God when you're 5, or it's just never going to happen for you.
Yeah, and that's not true, because you read the Word, you see the whole gamut. You see the Samuels that, man, they just hear God from a very early age. And then you see people that just...
Amos, out
yeah.
collecting figs and plowing the field, and oh, you're a prophet.
Yeah.
Go tell the king, knock it off.
Yeah. I mean, I just love that. I love how God just gives his gifts liberally, just to whoever. So.
And it's like Daniel had a gifting, but also skill. It was both. There were certain things he's born with, maybe the ability to look at symbols or think figuratively. Somebody might be a good English major, or in psychology or counseling, someone good with intangible things. But at the same time, Daniel's also very good at practical things like government. Joseph was good at the government. He was the world's most powerful accountant for 7 years. That's what grain was food. I mean, grain was literally what you paid your army with. It was food. He's the world's most powerful accountant, and he's the world's best dream interpreter simultaneously, which you would think are different sides of the brain entirely. So it's not a certain personality that does it, or a certain occupation or skill set. It's just God can use anybody to do it. And like Daniel was a gifting, but he also developed skill.
Yes.
So he was trained among the Magi. Magi was a word for anybody that did anything that wasn't practical. If you're a sorcerer, a priest, an astronomer, astrologer, a scientist, a psychiatrist, all of that fell under the term of Magi. So he was kind of trained in this world, even if it was by pagans. He was still trained in this world to develop these skills. We also had a natural thing from God, but you can't not develop the skill to tell someone what their dream was. That is pure revelation, depending on God's prophecy. Joseph had it, Daniel had it, and it was to save their lives. The lives of millions of people. It wasn't for their own glory. Like Daniel was told, the king said, I'm going to kill every single Magi in this entire world. And the Chaldeans and all of you, he's going to kill everybody, including Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they all fasted and they prayed, and then God told Daniel what the king's dream was. And then Daniel saved the lives of everybody, the New Age guys, the gurus, the yogis. He saved everybody's life through what God gave him. But even Daniel's like, I'm really good at this, but there's a supernatural level that's required at a certain point, and that can only come from God.
Yeah.
And you get them somewhere else, you're going to mess somebody's life up. Not even know it.
True.
Or you're going to invite stuff into their life, but at the very least, you're just giving them a wrong interpretation. They're going to function on bad information. It's like putting diesel in a Ford. It's like putting diesel in your Chevy Cavalier. It's not going to get it very far. You think you're okay for a little bit, but you run on the wrong fuel, you're just going to blow up soon.
And I love what you said about talent or anointing coupled with skill. And if I played baseball, I would be a sorry baseball player if I didn't get out there and practice, and in Christian circles, we have to make it okay to actually practice and study to show ourselves approved, and then apply what we've learned. So like you have applied yourself, God's given you an anointing for dream interpretation, Brian, but you've also applied yourself to learn what these biblical symbols mean, and then you go out and use that, and you practice ministering to people in that way. And I think it's like with anything, that as we practice, we grow, and we get more confident, and we show God that we take the things of God seriously.
It's a stewardship, because people ask me all the time, well, how do you start dreaming if you don't dream? Well, God doesn't talk to everybody that way. I think God talks to a lot of us in our dreams because we're really stubborn, and you can't argue in your sleep.
True.
And if you might give someone a vision, they're awake. And if they're a submissive person, they say, okay, God, I'll do that. If they show me a vision, I'm like, I don't know about all that. But he shows it to me to dream, I can argue with him. So it doesn't make you more spiritual to have a dream. Sometimes it might make you even less spiritual. He gives you a dream because he has to give you into a state that you can't argue. But it's a symbolic language, and it's mostly the scriptures. So the more you read scripture and study it, the more you'll see, okay, this is a constantly repeating theme where this symbol means this over and over and over. So you have a dream about it, that's what that symbol means. And then as far as stewarding, it's like the parable of the talents. The guy who buried it because he was afraid of it. He was afraid of God. So he didn't want to do anything because he was terrified he's going to make a mistake and he's going to get killed or beaten or whatnot. So he just buried it. Well, if that dream wasn't from God, then I'm in a world of trouble. So I'm just going to pretend it never happened. But if you take what you're given and you show him you like to have more of it, you'd like to do something with it, you take it seriously, then he'll start to give you more. Like you have a notebook by your bed, and just if you wake up, Just give it a title.
Yep.
You don't have to write down the whole dream. Probably remember half the dream, because 90% of your dreams are still just soul dreams. They're just your brain doing things. Or maybe you picked up on something spiritual world, but it's not instruction. It's not God telling you to do something. It's just you had this weird dream. And you're going to forget most of that in a day, so don't worry about it. If you have a dream that sticks with you for days and weeks, that's a supernatural dream. But just wake up, give it the title, write down as much as you remember. If it's the number of something, the color of something, a person that was in it, and it'll get clearer as you go. But also, if you can wake up without an alarm clock, like ancient people did, that helps as well. And you have to sleep long enough to hit REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. You have to hit that that state of sleep to even dream to begin with. So sleeping more helps you dream. Also, shut the electronics off before you go to bed. But when you wake up, write it down. As much as you remember is the biggest thing, because it shows God you take it seriously. Mm-hmm. And you can't over-rationalize it. Like, you can't treat it like the real world. It's a dream. Anything can happen. Don't try to make it make sense. Just write it down.
Those are excellent points. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have to suspend the logic.
Yeah, and what we focus on, what we honor grows.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just saying, just really, God, I'm honoring what you're giving me, and I'm asking you for more, and I want to be a good steward of it. Mm-hmm. So what are some common dream symbols that you encounter when you interpret people's dreams?
So houses are big, and a house is your life. Mm-hmm. A different place in your house might be a different thing, so it's all about function. Even in the Hebrew language, everything has a function. It doesn't exist till it has a function. It has a purpose. What is the purpose of this thing? Like, I go in your house, if I want to get nourished, I would go to the kitchen or the dining room, and I would get nourished. So there's food there. And if you make that a parable, you make that spiritual, all you go in the kitchen, you're trying to be fed spiritually. Now, if you go in the bathroom, you're trying to get something out of your system usually. Or you're trying to get cleaned up, or you're trying to get something off of you that you contacted. So you go in the bathroom, you're trying to get something out of your system. So you're in the kitchen, you're trying to put something in you spiritually. You're in the bathroom, you're trying to get something rid of something spiritually. Or like a bedroom is a place of comfort, a place of intimacy, and a place of rest. Mm-hmm. So that's a house is a common dream, but a house has rooms. Vehicles, that's how you get A to B. Like in the ancient world, they might have a chariot, now we have cars. So a car is basically a parable for a chariot. So a small car, there's like you and 3 people. So you have a little bit of influence your family. But a van carries a lot more people, passenger van. And a bus carries even more people. So this car you're helping these people get from A to B. You might help them get from not understanding the dream to understanding their dreams. So if I have a dream about, I just started interpreting last month, and I have a dream about me in a little Kia Forte, and I've got 3 people in it, I'm not influencing a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I have a car wreck. Well, that's bad, but it's only hurting 3 or 4 people. But it's 5 years later. I'm driving a bus, 30 people in it.
Responsibility.
Have a wreck. It's hurting a lot of people. So vehicle's how you get here to there, but the bigger the vehicle, the more influence you have. Who's driving the vehicle? John Paul Jackson is a guy I learned a lot about dream interpretation from. He has Streams Ministries. They actually had a class on dream interpretation a while back, so I got my little certificate from them. Proof I took the course. So I got a certification, I took the course. And a common dream was actually a dog driving your car, or a dog in your car, because a dog is usually one of your friends. Mm-hmm. And they're driving your car, they're having influence over your life. If someone else is driving your car, this person's influencing you.
That's interesting.
It's like you're in the back seat, you've given this person full control, then they wreck it. It's like you're saying this person has too much influence. They're going to cause damage to you if you don't get in the front seat again. Mm-hmm. And sometimes colors are really vivid. Like the color blue everything's got a dual meaning. Like blue is connection. So if you connect with God, that's revelation or prophecy. Mm-hmm. But if you're just connected with your soul, that's usually depression. So if you have a dream, you're wearing a dark blue shirt, usually you're depressed. You're connecting with your soul, your issues, your problems, your worldly stuff. But if you're wearing it. But if you're connecting with God, it's usually a brighter blue, and you can also wear that too. So clothing's a big thing. You put a jacket on, that's a mantle, something you're called to do.
Yeah.
So if you put on like a blue cape or a cloak or a jacket, you're probably called to walk in something prophetic. Maybe it's a yellow one. Yellow is kind of like your mind, your consciousness. You're carrying something more of a teaching calling, or there's a symbol on it. Mm-hmm. And also babies are a thing. Men having dreams about being pregnant, women having dreams about being pregnant. We make it very literal. People panic, but you're giving birth to something.
Yeah.
Like if you're barely pregnant, it's a long way off. If you're really pregnant, it's almost there. Or if you have a child in the dream you don't have in real life. If you have a child that's 3 years old, and that child's kidnapped in the dream, unfortunately, unless you're like a prophet, the dream is probably about you personally, and you had something you were responsible for 3 years now, and someone just took it from you, or someone's trying to take it from you. Because the child is perfect, and usually the age of the child is how long the situation's been going on. So those are really common themes.
I had a crazy dream once where I was in a restaurant and I went to the bathroom and there were all these babies, these little newborn babies on the counters, and no one in the restaurant except me was taking care of these babies. And I'm like, they're not even my babies, and I'm taking care of all these babies. And so I know what that means, but maybe someone viewing your show might have a dream similar to that.
And that's like definitely your calling too. It's like you're in a restaurant. What do you do at a restaurant? You go to get fed. So often represents a church where you go to get fed. Probably, it's like a teaching church usually. You go get fed something, it's experience, or you go to experience something at a restaurant.
Yeah.
So you're going to this certain kind of church. You go in the bathrooms where you get to go cleaned up, or why you take a child to get cleaned up. Like a new believer, they've got all kinds of problems they haven't dealt with yet because they're a new believer.
Baby Christians.
Yeah, salvation, sanctification, glorification.
Yeah.
These are all baby Christians, and no one's taking care of these baby Christians. Oh, well, you're kind of dirty. You got some issues. We're just going to drop you off in here and hope one day you come back mature, fully grown, and clean. We're not going to help you with that. We're just going to tell you to go fix that somewhere else and come back next week, which is generally the model of a lot of churches. But you're called to go help those people that are spiritually mature. They get cleaned up, to feed them, to clothe them, maybe to get them ready to go back out. But you're like, shocked because it's like no one's here to take care of them.
Yeah, I was living in that dream. I'm just like shouting at people.
Yeah, and your calling is also what animates you the most. The problem you notice this problem and no one else does. It's probably the problem you're called to fix. This is what we call a calling dream. There's different types of dreams. So it's a calling dream.
Oh, that's good.
That's the problem I want you to fix. So did you have a?
Keep on those calling dreams. I mean, they're just what are the different? I'm trying to keep up with time.
So there's like a word of knowledge dream. I've heard that Handel's Messiah, the song, he was given that in a dream. The theory of relativity was given to Einstein in a dream.
That's amazing.
Helped keep, the Japanese, the Nazis, or the empirical Japanese, and the Nazi regime from taking over the entire world. It's because Einstein had this dream for the theory of relativity, which of course helped develop the atomic bomb. Google was supposed to be a series of 12 dreams. The sewing machine, the cotton gin, a lot of the major discoveries in history, the inventor's like, no, I had a dream about that. It took me 3 months to write it down and figure out what it meant. But it was a download in a dream. It's like in the Matrix.
It's amazing.
He lays in the chair, goes to sleep, they plug the thing in the back of his head, and he can fly. He can fly a Apache helicopter. There's like a word of knowledge kind of dream. There's warning dreams, which are something. It's like in the military. You have military intelligence, which is the job of military intelligence is to tell you what the enemy wants to do to you, so you can stop it. It's not to scare you. It's not to punish you. It's to make sure you know what the enemy plans, so you can take action against it and you can protect yourself. So that's the kind of dream. The calling dreams. There's instructional dreams. So God just go here, go there, do that. And there's sometimes environmental dreams. Like you just been around a certain environment all day. You go home and dream about it. Like you might be in an elevator with some people at your job, and they're having an affair with each other. So you might go home and dream about some kind of affair. And you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? I don't watch HBO all day. But it's your dream. You're picked up on something in your environment, and it's coming out. It's like night vision, where you see it during the day, but at night you see it again through a spiritual lens.
And your body and your soul is cleansing some of that.
Yeah, it's washing it off of you. Like you have these dreams about going to the bathroom. You might start a new job, and it's a bad spiritual environment. So you're just washing this off of your soul, basically.
What about animals in dreams?
Animals can represent people or spirits or concepts.
And I know you referred to the dog dream.
Like a dog is normally a friend because in our culture,
man's best friend.
You're in an Arab country, it's a whole different thing. To a Jew in the first century, a dog was a Gentile, or a dog was a male prostitute. So it was a whole different context. They're cultural context. Like in Romania, there's this thing with hair in your teeth. That means you're going to die, I think. I mean, it's weird, but it's a cultural thing there. In our culture, kicking the bucket, that would be a thing. But like a serpent is not always the devil, it's a deception. Like you get a serpent tried to bite you and missed. Someone tried to deceive you, they couldn't do it, pulled off. Someone, in another dream, a serpent bites you, it gets infected, you lose your leg. So someone deceived you successfully, and this deception has caused your walk to be affected. So it's not just animal, what did they do? Bear, it's like a play on words are big in Hebrew and also in dreams. Like a bear can mean the animal of the bear, which is a predatory animal, stalks its prey, or it can mean to bear something. You're going to have to endure it.
Interesting.
Or it can be bear, to be stripped naked, to be exposed. Like it'll bear this, bear that. So it's sometimes the animal's name is a play on words or its function, like an alligator. John E. Thomas teaches for Streams Ministries now, and he did a good thing on alligators are like gossip, or crocodiles, and if you're in Africa or Asia, they're crocodiles instead. But it's got a big mouth. It destroys by its mouth. So that's the functional part of the alligator is its mouth. So it's like going around chomping on people at your office. It means like someone's gossiping. But it also has a big tail. It hurts people with its tail. It knocks them down with its tail. So that's also a problem. You might be exposed in a dream. Is this alligator might represent a certain spirit or a certain tendency thing going on, or it might represent a certain person. That's an alligator. They're destroying people with their mouth, like slander, or more like gossip. But then the slander part, the malicious part, the lie is a tail. Its tail is taking people out. The tail is its tail.
That's an interesting twist. What about rats? What about cats? A lot of people dream about those two animals quite frequently.
So a cat can be witchcraft in certain circles, but a cat most often is this independent nature. I don't need anybody. Hyper independent. It's catty behavior of off and on, or I don't need anybody to help me. Just really independent kind of motif. And a rat usually moves in the dark. But what does a rat do? It goes where the trash is. So if you have rats, you probably have trash you haven't taken out.
Unclean.
Unclean things like you're attracting these for some reason.
Right.
Why is the rat there? So that's kind of a big issue in dreams too. Like, why this, not that? Why a restaurant and not a mall? Why a restaurant, not a truck stop? Why a playground instead of a parking lot?
So notice the surroundings and ask yourself what's done in that type of environment and why this versus that.
There's a function, and there's a name, which might be a play on words, and there's also the why this, not that. Why is it this friend, not that friend? Why is it red, not blue?
So you've got colors, you've got animals, you've got the location.
Location.
You've got what you go to that location for. What does it symbolize? What does that person symbolize to you? You've got colors, you've got what the people in the dream do.
Yeah, and you got numbers. Which
numbers. Tell us a little bit about numbers real quick.
I'm terrible at numbers, both in the real world and the dream world, because I was in special ed for math for 5 years. But Troy Brewer has got a whole series called Numbers That Preach. He's really good at it. But numbers are also a dual meaning. Like the number 7, it can mean completion, but also separation. Like you get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something gets cut off and starts over. So 7 means it's completed, it's done, that's a wrap. We're separating this. And 8, we're starting over to go 8 through 14 over here. So something's completed, it's also severed in a way.
Yeah.
Like in the modern Hebrew, Zayin, the letters Zayin, number 7 is it's a sword. I think it's a picture of a sword. So it's like this is what cuts off this and that. So it's done, but also it changes. And number 8's like new beginnings.
Yep.
There's 9 fruits of the Spirit, right?
Yep.
So 9 is like
gifts and fruits of the
gifts and
Spirit.
fruits. So it's like fruitfulness. But I believe it also means rebellion. It's like there's a counterpart of it. And 8's new beginnings, but it's also a cycle. Like you're just stuck in a cycle.
That's
if 8's a
interesting.
bad thing, you're going over and over again. Like 1 can
Like
be
the number, when you make an 8.
it's like infinity. You just keep going and going and going. Like 5 is grace, but there's also unsanctified grace, where you just give people, you're enabling people. It's like 5 in a bad way. So there's like some examples. But Troy Brewer's Numbers That Preach series. He also has a book called Numbers That Preach. And if you guys go to shalomtoyourheart.com, look under Spirit, look under Dreams, or just shalomtoyourheart.com/dreams. I've got all these books listed and these videos listed and some links to like Streams Ministries. So you can go get a lot more information on there. It's my virtual library. I spent about a year making it, a couple hours a day for a year. And I just took all the resources I knew of and put it in one spot so it's easy to find.
Great resource.
you.
Excellent resource.
And I also do dream coaching. So if someone writes me, the first one's free, but it takes a lot of time, but it's about half-hour blocks. So I'll talk to you on the phone, we'll set up an appointment, and I'll walk you through your dream. I might help you with either mental health background, help you through some issues that your dream kind of shows what you're dealing with, and I'll send you some resources, like books, links, videos, etc., that are helpful for that thing you're dealing with.
So let's talk about some other symbols real quickly, like different metals or wood or plants. What about some of those?
So plants grow. What do? Kudzu will choke things out. Roses are beautiful and also painful. It depends on what does the plant do? Is it a weed? Is it a flower? But it's something that's growing.
Yeah.
And they say wood represents humanity, like because
Yeah.
it can be shaped and molded. There's different varieties of it, and different metals like bronze in the Bible. It goes back to the Bible. Bronze was always judgment. But judgment can be good or bad because the judge actually means to intervene. Like you go to court. I mean, you're the plaintiff or the defendant. Someone did you wrong. Judgment's a good thing.
Yeah. Excellent.
And then silver is redemption. Like you redeemed a slave by a female slave was redeemed for 30 pieces of silver because the church is a bride. So if a man redeemed his bride like out of slavery, it would be 30 pieces of silver. And gold's also purity. It's also a superconductor. So electricity represents a spirit. I mean, the Ark of the Covenant was a giant superconductor. It's like it's flowing. It's the easiest metal for electricity to power to flow through. Is gold. So when it's pure, you can flow through it the easiest. And money in general represents favor with people.
Okay.
It's like favor with people. Like the more money you have, the more things you can get done. The more people want to help you.
So what else would you like to say to people about dream interpretation?
Every dream you have, just pray about it, discern it. If there's a people that trust it, not necessarily dream interpreters, but if you trust them to be led by the Spirit and knowledgeable of the Scripture, you can take it to them. Because even with prophecy, you're supposed to take it before the local body, and they all test it to see what spirit it's from. And two things are really be careful of. If someone's murdered in a dream, that means they're cutting off a relationship. It's not a physical murder. It's like you're removing this person from your life. And that there's like, if you have a dream, say a pastor's in the car kissing the secretary, it's not that he's literally having an affair. It's that he's spending more time with his work. He's dedicated more to his work than he is his wife.
Yeah.
So people are symbols. So be very careful accusing people of things in dreams because the person's the symbol of something 99% of the time. Even
That's
your
a
pastor
good
might
word.
represent the
It's an
church as a
excellent
whole.
word. Yeah. Oh, our time is up.
Well, shalom to your heart, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Let's talk shalom. Shalom, everybody. This is Brian Newman. I'm the host of Let's Talk Shalom. We're here at WCTN twice a week, right after Discovering the Jewish Jesus. And I'm here